Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? This is a reminder that pops up on my phone at 7 o'clock. So 1 minute ago, it just popped up on my phone. It's been on my phone for over a year. I originally heard it on a podcast, but I believe Marianne Williamson is the first woman who actually put the prayer out there. What I love about this prayer is that it is a dynamic opportunity to stay in conversation with the divine. And I know for myself, this is something that I struggle with, and that it's a very important part, and yet I intellectually want to manipulate my situations and force them into a shape. So the bigger irony of my title, Why Now, is that the question why tends to be my limiting factor into the how. And what I mean by that is why can oftentimes be laden with a victim mentality of why me. And so if we think about oftentimes the first time why can be widely used, and I don't know this from a personal perspective because I don't have children, but my guess is Shannon probably does know this, in the persistence of why with little kids. As they come into their curiosity zones, the why question is just persistent, and it's time to go to bed. Why? Why does the sun shine? Why is the grass green? Why do I need to eat anything other than ice cream? And it can be charming at times, but it can be frustrating to no end because you just want an answer. And what I find is that there are so many times within my life that is why I go to the why question, because I just want you to tell me how to do it and to do it right. Why can't I figure this out? So more curiously, some questions that I've been working on would be where, what, how. So to bring this back to my original speech, one of the more curious times in my life was when I broke my face snowboarding. For those of you that were here, this was about 15 years ago. My buddy and I were snowboarding together and misread one another's lines, and I ended up catching his shoulder right here at my cheekbone and essentially just blew up my face, basically. So it sounds crazy dramatic, and it certainly could have been. Fortunately, I didn't have any, major repercussions from it, and everything worked out smooth. However, I don't remember actually being hit, but as soon as I woke up, there was already people attending to me. It turns out that there were 2 off-duty ski patrollers that had come over the hill right after we had hit. So they didn't watch me get hit, but one of them immediately started doing assessments while the other one went down and got ski patrol. So they were immediately at my aid and taking me down to the emergency room. As they loaded me into the sled, as they call it, I immediately went into prayer, and an affirmative prayer, and just asking God to make sure that everything was prepared for me. I had the perfect medical help. Finances were not a concern. Everything would be prepared and ready for me. And that's how it worked out. But I immediately was in a very open to the bigger picture because, quite frankly, it was such an unexpected experience. And so I was in a huge realm of questions that, after time, took me 6 weeks of my jaw wired shut. And I had joked last time that it was metaphorically and realistically a time for me to close my mouth and open my ears. Fast forward a few months, I found myself in Brazil, which was the next very curious time of life. And I won't say it was easy. It was extremely challenging to be down there. I went down there with a Brazilian surfer because God knows running away from your problems is the best way to get them right up front in your face. And so I got to explore those problems in Brazil on the beach, which is not the worst spot to observe. But also I was just extremely lonely. I couldn't understand the language. I didn't have anybody to speak with. And I just found myself in constant communication with myself, which, I mean, let's be honest, who doesn't talk to themselves? It's just a matter of, how aware of our conversations within our own heads are we. But with that, I spent that time reflecting a lot and just asking for the guidance on what it was that I was supposed to be doing. I had felt secure going into snowboarding, that's what I was going to be doing. And within 5 weeks, that was, taken away, but for a bigger purpose or bigger plan, I believe. Not that it made it any easier. So as I was in Brazil, that just started to open up the bigger questions of what was it that I was going to be doing. When I came back from Brazil, I enrolled at UCCS, and that started a 4-year window of being in a lot of intellectual development. I double majored in biology and philosophy, so really took these two kind of competing ideas, but bridged them in a way that let me look at things differently. And I appreciated that. However, I'll say after I was done with that degree, I went farther away from the questions of who, what, where, and more into the why. Why haven't I been able to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to be doing with my life? Why haven't I figured out what my purpose is? And you can hear in my voice that why is not serving me. That why right now reeks of victimization, and it reeks of this, just tell me the right way to do it so I can figure it out and move on. As I move forward with this Toastmasters, the bigger intention I had is to set it out there that I would like to be a professional speaker. So my prayer and my question is, what does this speaking career want to become? What does this coaching career want to become? And rather than resting in the why can't I figure it out phase, trying to reel it back into a more curious, dynamic conversation with the divine. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? My fellow Toastmasters, I challenge you to notice when you're stuck in your why, and if there is an opportunity to expand that into a more dynamic conversation with some more open-ended questions. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. I'm going to pause for just a moment here and allow you all to type up some comments to Sarah privately in the chat window if you'd like.
Mr. Toastmaster, we do have Leo, a distinguished Toastmaster.
With, I can see clearly now, but can you see it?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. The only thing worse than being blind is to have sight with no vision. Helen Keller. Visions, they're all the rage. Everyone's got to have one. Got to have one for your life, for your marriage, for your job, for your hobby. You can't do anything without a vision statement. You got to know why you're doing it. You got to know what your true north is. And they are helpful to keep you on target and keep you focused. But if you do even a half hour's research, which is about as much as I did, on vision statements, you realize there's not really a unified language of it. There's not one way to describe or develop a vision statement. But I did come away with two kind of key components of what vision statements do and what they should be. First, they tell you why you do what you do day after day, and it tells where you want to be in the future. So it's kind of your dream of where your organization want to be in the future. And another thing I came across, and a good way to put it is, it's important to look at the big things while we're doing the little things, so the little things go in the right direction. And that was my futurist, Alvin Toffler. And boy, is that something we needed in the stage we're at of developing our financial planning business, building a team, and trying to figure out what are we going towards. We knew a lot of the what's, the pieces, parts that we'll do in that, help people make a plan, help them understand the financial concepts, help them achieve financial independence ultimately. But how would we know what success looked like? So we talked about it, kicked it around, did a lot of editing, and finally came up with to cultivate a team of servant leaders that will enable middle Americans to achieve financial freedom and live a full life. Like most vision statements, that sounds like a mouthful, sounds like a lot. Is it achievable? Well, we'll see. But it will be a stretch, but we think it will be worth it. So today, not only share what a vision statement is, but I'm going to tell you what it means to us, some reasons why we want it to become true, and then I'm going to look to you to give us some feedback on, is it a good vision statement, or at least a good start, or do we need to scrap it and start over? So what does it mean to us? Well, we'll break it down. You could do that intellectually, but just kind of how we came to this statement. So to cultivate a team, we wrestled with this word a lot. Are we going to grow a team, recruit a team, develop, lead? What we're going to do? So, of course, my wife, being the farmer's daughter, said, well, we're going to cultivate a team. We're not only going to plant the seeds, but we're going to care for it, nurture it, and bring it to fruition. Servant leaders, we want to model for them. We want to be it ourselves and model for them that we're going to serve people first. We're going to help them to understand the concepts, help them make a plan that works for them, and then lead them and coach them to financial success. To enable middle Americans to achieve financial freedom. And that can be interpreted a lot of different ways, but a lot of the goal most people we work with start off, the point they want to reach financial freedom is at least at retirement. They want to be able to go from trading time for a paycheck to living the rest of their life pursuing the dreams on their own terms. Some people will achieve it earlier, some not till retirement. And to live a full life. Again, this can mean a lot of things, but to us, it means being able to pursue those goals and dreams on your terms, to be a blessing to others with both your time and your money. So that's what it means to us, what our mission statement means to us, what we're aiming for. And there's 3 key reasons we identified why we want this to become true, why we think it's important. First is we think, in a large part, much of middle America is not being served well by the financial industry. They've been relegated to websites and call centers. Sure, you can still get help, personalized help and coaching, if you already have $250,000. But what about the couple with 2 kids and up to their eyeballs in debt that can only scrape together $50 to save for retirement? Who's going to help them? We think people that are achieving financial freedom, either working on it or already there, make the community better. They're better citizens. They have ownership. They want things to be better, and it just makes a better world all the way around. And the concept of a team, we want to be able to maximize the impact in the community, not just number of people, but the type of people we reach. So that's why we're going to recruit people from all walks of life that have the heart of a teacher. So there you have it. To cultivate a team of servant leaders to enable middle Americans to achieve financial freedom and live a full life. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Does it hit home, or is it a swing and a miss? So as you take time to write your love note to me telling me what a great speech I did and how much I've improved, please also include comments on how did this strike you? Did it stir emotions? Did it conjure up motivation? Or is it time to start over? So as we proceed on in our quest, we will use this or evolving vision statements to keep us on track. And I'll be reporting later on the timeline and the ways that I'm going to be pursuing this, Mr. Toastmaster.
As Dan mentioned, I never actually competed in an arena, but I did train for a brief stint. And during that training time, I learned many lessons. But I want to share 3 of the lessons that really stuck out to me. Number 1, I learned that I am stout-hearted. Number 2, I learned that riding a horse is more complicated than it seems. And number 3, which I think was most important, is I learned to really be careful of the story I tell myself. So let's start with the first lesson. I am stout-hearted. Stout-hearted means to be courageous and determined. When I was 6 years old, I was infatuated with horses. So when my dad told me that a friend of his had invited us to his ranch so that I could ride a horse, I was giddy beyond belief. We get to the ranch, and because I'm so little, his friend says, you guys need to ride together. So he gets my dad up on the horse, and he puts me right in front of my dad. No sooner had we got on the horse bucked, and we both went flying. His friend was mortified because the horse he'd had him several years, and he had never bucked like that. We didn't know it at the time, but come to find out, my dad had broken 3 of his ribs. It knocked the wind out of me, but I was only left with a couple scrapes. So the guy said, well, let's try to find a different horse. Let's try this again. And my dad said, no, I'm done. Plus he was in a lot of pain, so he thought we should get back home. But as a 6-year-old, I was like, it might have scared some, but that not bewildered me. It made me the horses more alluring. They were more majestic, even more powerful, and I couldn't wait to get back on a horse. So as my dad is sharing this story with people, he would describe it as, man, that daughter of mine, she is stout-hearted. Which brings us to lesson number 2. Riding a horse is more complicated than it seems. I never did get a chance to get back on a horse until junior high. Junior high, I went to a rodeo and saw the barrel racing portion, and I thought, oh my gosh, I want to get back on a horse. I've been dreaming about this for the past several years, but let's make this happen. So I looked into lessons. I convinced my parents to take me to lessons and found a stable that specialized in at least offered barrel racing. I went to my first lesson and was disappointed. We didn't even get to get on the horse. We learned about how to walk around a horse, how to groom the horse, all those simple tasks. The instructor promised that the second lesson we'd be able to get on our horses. Second lesson comes, and I do get on the horse, and we simply just walk around the arena, getting comfortable, how to guide a horse, use your legs, not just the reins. I get home from that lesson, and I have bruises that are the size of a cantaloupe on the inside of my thighs. Go back to the third lesson, and I share this with my instructor, and she says, well, it's because you're not riding the horse properly. But as you learn to ride, that won't happen anymore. So that third lesson, they had barrels in the arena, and we were supposed to just guide our horses in whatever way around these barrels, but to keep the horses at a walking pace, because we're beginners, we don't want anything crazy going on. And my horse, I mean, she was trained to be a barrel racer, and so she saw those, she was ready to go. So I was really having a hard time, like, slowing her down. She kept wanting to, like, canter and trot, and I'm like, whoa. So the instructor was constantly coming over to me, helping me slow her down, helping her to keep her at a walking pace. I get home from that third lesson, and those cantaloupe-sized bruises had turned into these, they had welled up more like a cantaloupe. Maybe not that big, but I mean, it was like pretty good. So much so that I couldn't go to school the next day, because in order to walk, you can't see my full body. But if you could, I was walking like all bow-legged, and it was just super embarrassing. So I didn't go to school the next day. So my parents said, this can't go on. These bruises have to heal before you do any more lessons. So second lesson is, riding a horse is more complicated than it seems. Third lesson, be careful of the story you tell yourself. I had told myself that I was just a quitter. Things got hard and I just never go back. I was in college. After that third lesson, I had never gone back for another lesson. I'm in college and I'm sharing with my dad how hard my major is getting, and I'm thinking about switching majors, and I'm telling him what a horrible person I am. I quit everything. When things get hard, I just give up. He's like, Jennifer, what are you talking about? He said, well, remember barrel racing? I got bruises and it got hard and I just gave up. He said, Jen, that's not what happened at all. You didn't give up. You came back to us consistently asking to go back to lessons. But money was tight at the time, and so we redirected you into a more affordable sport. You didn't give up. And it was at that moment that I realized so many things I had made the decision on based on I gave up easy. So fellow Toastmasters, I encourage you to apply these lessons to your life. 3 things. Number 1, I am stout-hearted. What positive quality do you have that you can lean into a little bit more and live fully into that? Number 2, riding a horse is more complicated than it seems. What is it in your life that's more complicated than you thought? And what can you do to further yourself and take that next step? Number 3, most importantly, be careful of the story you tell yourself. Look into it. Is it true? And consider, maybe it's not. And if it isn't, find a new perspective. Live into that new story and the new truth. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.